We have a massive Avs trade incoming as a report revealed a fairly wild update regarding one of the biggest question marks for the Avalanche moving forward and possibly a player that they could bring in instead of signing said player. And yes, I am talking about Martin Necas. We've talked about several times. There's a lot of buzz around trading this certain player or possibly keeping him. And we're going to break into a possible trade scenario that we heard from a fairly good insider close to the Avalanche. What is up, Avs Nation? This is Avalanche Digest. We are the most reliable, consistent, and fun Avs channel out here that always gets you the news as fast as we can possibly get it. And we absolutely love you guys. So I just want to point out that 92.3% of you guys aren't actually subscribed, and you absolutely want to be. It's free, and I promise you won't regret it. But let's just get right into the information. So this piece was written up by AJ Heffley over at DNVR, and it was in this article that talked about some trades that the Avalanche could make to start their offseason. And there was one big blockbuster trade that was mentioned that was Martin Necas for Jackson LaCombe. Now, if you don't know Jackson LaCombe, he is probably the hottest, newest defensive prospect in the game other than Lane Hutson. Jackson LaCombe had a great season over in Anaheim with 43 points, 14 goals, and is a large boy, to say the least. He's like 6'2", 220, 205. Sorry, not exactly 220, but he's definitely a large defenseman. And for somebody that's been credited as a good puck-handling defenseman, speedster, and two-way defenseman as well, there's a lot to like with Jack LaCombe. Now, Martin Necas is also a very interesting player for the Avalanche because I really don't think that Martin Necas' name is really out there. But we've seen neither Ms. Mikko Rantanen's when the Avs traded him. So if there's a deal and the Avalanche like it, they'll make the deal. So it's not off the table that they could trade Martin Necas, but I wouldn't exactly say it's on the table either. But it's interesting to speculate because we could possibly get a very good return for him. And this is just one video out of many that we could talk about the return. And Jackson LaCombe would basically go back to the old idea of the Avalanche's philosophy of having a three-headed monster defense. And that was with Cale Makar, Devon Toews, and Bowen Byram. And that you really, really saw it come to fruition and dominate against the Tampa Bay Lightning in the 2022 Stanley Cup Final. It was great, even when our Nazem Kadri was injured and Valeri Nichushkin was playing through like his foot in half, basically. You saw that pick up the slack when guys got injured and was able to carry the Avalanche to a win. And that was amazing to see. Now, the Avalanche would only have to worry about, if they traded Martin Necas, filling a wing spot and not trying to look for a second-line center, and they would have an amazing defense, 1-2-3 of Makar, Toews, and LaCombe. And when Toews gets a little older and maybe has to decline a little bit, LaCombe can just take his spot, and Devon Toews becomes the third-best defenseman. Definitely intriguing if you're the Avalanche. But why would the Ducks want to do something like this? Well, AJ actually went on to say, and kind of talks a lot about why possibly would even want to do this in the first place. What do the Ducks get out of it? Well, the Ducks are rich at center and defense, actually. They have quite a bit of defense. They've traded away defense in the past with Jamie Drysdale. They've been willing to trade away centers because they have so much. I mean, the Trevor Zegras trade literally just happened, and they were completely comfortable doing that, and they got a center in return. So they have guys like Leo Carlsson, Mason McTavish. On defense, they got guys like Pavel Mintyukov, Owen Zellweger. They have a wealth of a lot of these positions, and if they get a good player like Martin Necas to play wing, which they don't have a lot of, that could be very intriguing to Anaheim, and Anaheim's been willing to do this in the past to get good guys. See Jamie Drysdale for Cutter Gauthier. So this isn't out of the realm of possibility that the Ducks would make a move like this. And really, it's an interesting conversation to have of what either team then becomes. For the Avalanche, your defense is probably set for the next few years. You're only worrying about a fourth, fifth, and sixth defenseman, and you have Sam Malinski in your system making cheap. So that helps alleviate things quite a bit. And if you look at the contract status, I mean, in the past, you have guys like Martin Necas, who's currently making 6.5. You look at, as we say, we looked at the the contract projection for a guy like Jack Lacombe, and he will make 7.5. So you're only paying Jack Lacombe more, $1 million more than you would Martin Necas right now, and Martin Necas is asking for a higher payday. So Martin Necas could end up making 9.5. So really, you're saving $2 million with this contract for 5 years for a younger player that can keep playing over and over again. Now, there's some risks to this because Jack Lacombe, as this article actually goes on to say, only had one great season. But if you guys don't know, these charts are incredibly telling as to what kind of player this is. Obviously, there's a lot of numbers here, but just to break it down, you can actually see in his terms of his finishing and his goals, when the numbers are higher and the percentages are closer to 100%, the little cheat code is that's really good. And you can see he's a great penalty killer. He's great at offense. The Avalanche actually have quite a bit of an important philosophy when it comes to their defense, and that's that their first and second pairing need to be helping the Avalanche with their offense. And the way this works is you'll actually see certain players break out of the zone. This was actually Martin Necas doing it himself, our own, for the moment, hometown boy, because he's here. But really, you see the defense do this a lot as well. They will break into the zone. They'll actively transition. They'll break out of the defensive zone, possibly through the neutral zone at times, and they'll allow space for the Avalanche's forwards to then charge through the zone unimpeded because they don't have the puck, break into the zone as well, and then now there's a whole lot of options off the rush for the Avalanche. In fact, the Avalanche have been one of the best rush teams in the NHL year after year for basically Jared Bednar's entire tenure as the coach. So it's no surprise that a player like Jack Lacombe would be of interest to this organization. Now, you then have to deal with the problem of finding a top-line winger spot because, yeah, you're now looking at, obviously, don't replace Mikko Rantanen because you can't replace that level of production easily. But then you're looking at replacing a guy like Martin Necas, who was over a point per game this season. So it's a question of, where do you find that? Do you find that in free agency? Do you pay a guy like Mikael Granlund a lot of money, maybe 7, maybe 5 million, whatever he wants, to then go play wing? And that's just not as good as what you're going to get, but you'd have a better defense. And maybe then you start really looking into reclamation projects, guys that you think could be even better. We've talked a little bit about Anthony Mantha on the channel. Could the Avalanche be the organization that finally unlocks his potential as a forward? That's when you really start scrumming and pinching pennies. But it's better to do that at a winger spot than it is at a center or defenseman spot. So it's definitely an interesting dilemma to have, but it would leave a pretty big problem for the Avalanche to solve. But I want to know what you guys think. Is this something worth doing? Would you rather see Martin Necas traded for a forward? Would you even want him seeing traded at all? What do you guys think? Let me know down below. Don't forget to subscribe. Hope you enjoyed this episode of Avs Digest, and I will see you in the next one.